Hello everyone, welcome to the talk on international politics, East Asia and the Korean Peninsula, Problems and Prospects by Dr. Haksoon Paik, organized by Center for Public Policy Research, CPPR, in association with the Korea Center at the School of International Relations and Politics, Mahatma Gandhi University. I'm Anusri Suresh, Senior Associate in International Relations at CPPR. The Center for Public Policy Research is an independent public policy think tank based in Kochi. Our engagement in public policy that began in 2004 has initiated open dialogue, policy changes, and institutional transformation in various domains, including international relations and security, livelihood, education, urban reform, health, governance, and etc. To know more about what we do, please do visit our website, www.cppr.in. So before we dive into the crucial geopolitical questions pertaining to the Korean Peninsula, it's a great pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's talk, Dr. Haksoon Paik. Currently, he's an interesting scholar at the Korea Center at NG University, and he's also the founding president of the Academy of King Daejong Studies, Republic of Korea. He has earned his PhD in political science from the University of Pennsylvania and a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard University. He has written extensively on South Korea, North Korea relations, inter-Korean relations, U.S. relations in pertaining to North Korea, and North Korean nuclear and missile issues, and East Asian international geopolitics in general. He is the author of 14 books and monographs, as well as he co-edited 8 books, including The Korean Peninsula Peace Strategy, The North Korean Politics in Kim-Jong-un, and the U.S. North Korea relations during President Obama's second term, 2013-14, threat of the use of nuclear weapons and the collapse of the relationship. And there are some of his best-known works. There are 14 more that are really interesting to look into the North Korea-South Korea relations. So on behalf of the CPPR team, I warmly welcome Dr. Paik to this interesting discussion. We're looking forward to your insights on the topic. And I also welcome our distinguished advisors and fellows and our online attendees to this crucial geopolitical discussion on the Korean Peninsula. So I ask all the online attendees to kindly put your questions in the chat box. We'll be taking the questions as we go once the session is over. So without further ado, let's dive into the East Asian geopolitics, the North-South dynamics, and the problems and prospects posed by the new age technology. Over to you, Dr. Paik.
Thank you very much, Center for Public Policy Research, and all of you for inviting me here. It's really a privilege and honor for me to have an opportunity to share with some of my thoughts on international politics and East Asian international relations and Korean Peninsula politics. And because of the time is limited, without further ado, let me go into my presentation. Even though we have a limited time, let me try not to forget that I used to be the president of the Sejong Institute, which is an independent think tank in South Korea, just like yours in India and Kerala. And I was introduced as the founding president of the Academy of Kim Daejong Studies. President Kim Daejong was South Korea's president and Nobel Peace Prize laureate in 2000. He was a modern philosopher ruler. He was a thinker politician, unlike just ordinary politicians. So that's why a research institution was established to do academic and systematic study of Kim Daejong's philosophy, thought, his politics, and the policies and his leadership, and so on and so forth. So let me now go to the questions we asked in my presentation. How could the current state of international politics, East Asian international politics, and the Korean Peninsula situation be characterized? What are the most important forces that shape international politics, East Asian international politics, and the Korean Peninsula problems today? what are the biggest problems and concerns facing the world, East Asia and the Korean Peninsula? What are the prospects for resolving the problems and concerns facing the world, East Asia and the Korean Peninsula? What are the prospects for denuclearization of North Korea and a peace regime on the Korean Peninsula? And finally, what are the prospects for Korean unification? The U.S.-led liberal international order is crumbling, collapsing, and the organizing principle of international order is shifting. Organizing principle, we mean a central reference point that allows us to locate all other elements in the system or in understanding something, such as conceptual framework, and there is a lack of proper global governance system. Previously, there was not 100% property, but there was quite a stable global cooperative system. But now, it's gone. Particularly during the COVID years. Now, permanent members of the United Nations Security Council are at war with each other, war in Ukraine and the rivalry between U.S. and China. And so this is a clear lack of cooperative global governance system. And the three key factors contributing to the international order crisis, the disappearance of the cooperative global governance system. I would say the number one, disruptive geopolitics, and secondly, disruptive technologies. Maybe disruptive technologies might be more fundamental than the first one, the disruptive geopolitics. But as far as our attention and our concerns and our interests, worries are concerned, disruptive geopolitics comes to first in my presentation today. And climate change and other man-made disasters. And we are talking about the global west, the global east, and the global south, the three words. But the three words are not the word we used to know in the past. The first word, second or third word. India is not what it used to be, and other countries as well. China has become one of the most powerful countries in the world. Sometimes I'm asking myself, is the global West a continued hyperization of the world into three blocks? Still skim through pursue political, economic, and strategic gains for the global West, so-called the West. You might have answers to this question. The word at war, the Azerbaijan and Armenia war, and the Nagorno-Karabakh region. It did not gotten our attention as much as the Russia-Ukraine war, or the Israel-Hamas-Palestine war. But there was a cleansing of ethnic Armenians, as much as 100,000 the Nagorno-Karabakh region in 2020. And sometimes we are thinking about geography and the earth science, earthquakes and what is it? Volcanoes, and we also apply those concepts to geopolitics, and we think of geostrategic fault lines at risk of military conflict or war. the South China Sea demonstrate Korean Peninsula, the India-China border region. We are in a very unstable situation globally. I don't think there will be another Korean war on the Korean Peninsula, breaking out. But we have serious worries about the possibility because we are looking at this, one of the geostrategic fault lines, and because we know that we have to be prepared more, not to not to make things escalate to a state of war or something like that. Not only Korea, but also in other regions of the world. And let me turn to East Asian international politics. The current state of international politics in East Asia, the rise of China, the U.S.-China rivalry, the U.S.-South Korea, North Korea armistice, the longest in history. And sometimes, people say, or press reported that certain war is the longest in history, and then Koreans say, oh, no, the Korean War is the longest in history. We are witnessing from the end of the Second World War, particularly 1915. We are at war. United States and North Korea, for instance, and South Korea and North Korea are in a state of war. People use the expression technically at war. That is it. But more importantly, what we have to understand with regard to the armistice, continuing armistice, is that we are in enemy relations, right? And if we do not do our best to reduce tensions on the Korean Peninsula, we'll be more and more in the situation that, oh yeah, right, we are in enemy relations, and sometimes if there is no dialogue or negotiation, and then practically we are giving the other side a free hand in doing whatever they wanted to do, and that will lead to more serious threat. We have to witness very vicious cycle. North Korea's nuclear missile threats, and return of a new Cold War, US, Japan, South Korea versus China, Russia, North Korea. All of you have your kind of impression of your own regarding returning of a new Cold War. This might be a misnomer because the things like Cold War sometimes that's not exactly represents what it is like under the current circumstances, but many people are talking about the return of the new Cold War. Regional territorial disputes and economic inequalities. North Korea, for instance, and Mongolia include, they belong to East Asia, and we have another, in contrast, quite wealthy countries. Now, so let me turn to the most important part of my presentation today, U.S. North Korea-U.S. relations. And you will see why. What is North Korea, United States policy toward North Korea, toward the Korean Peninsula in the first place? U.S. policy is essentially big power diplomacy because it is big power. And U.S. policy toward the Korean Peninsula is defined and executed rather in the context of U.S. policy toward China and additionally Russia. And trilateral cooperation between the U.S., Japan, and South Korea is a key component of U.S. policy for China, Russia, and North Korea, as you know very well. North Korea's nuclear missile threats are largely is being used as a pretext to strengthen U.S. Japan-South Korea cooperation. Always saying that trilateral cooperation to a level of alliance against China, Russia, and North Korea. For instance, U.S., Japan, and South Korea agreed to hold the annual named multi-domain trilateral exercises, military exercises, on a regular basis in the spirit of Camp David in October this year. You heard about Camp David, meeting, so-called the first summit meeting of the United States with foreign heads of state, the first time in Camp David during the Biden's tenure, giving us a sense that they, less of emphasis on the trilateral cooperation against China and Russia and North Korea. And now, what are the implications of all these U.S. policies for North Korea? Increased likelihood of U.S. withholding consent to South Korea's independent powers toward North Korea. If South Korea wants to pursue a policy of reconciliation, peaceful coexistence with North Korea, and then I don't think the American government, even Biden administration, would not like to consent to South Korea. Of course, they don't say anything like that in public, but if we are the so-called students of international politics, not just jumping into some specific time in history, but we have been watching and studying the history, long history in which we see all kinds of sensational points. But we are not, manipulated. We are not, influenced not much. Those, sensationalism, people and the press and government officials try to project for domestic and international consumption. We are academics, so we see that. Another implication is a decreased likelihood of resuming dialogue and negotiation with North Korea. Very unfortunate. And conspiracy theory, so-called. The U.S. use of North Korean threats to strengthen its counterweight against China by mobilizing three countries, U.S., Japan, South Korean cooperation, rather than making a full-fledged, genuine effort to resolve them, has perpetuated the conspiracy theory, so-called, that the U.S. does not genuinely want to resolve the Korean Peninsula problems. I hope it's not true, but this, conspiracy theory has survived, all through the years. There is an interesting moment I experienced. It was several years ago. There was a conference in Japan, and I raised the conspiracy theory of this kind, and trying to giving people a more wider understanding and the problems and concerns about all those nuclear and ballistic missile threats coming in North Korea, its implications. And later, one British scholar approached me after the conference saying that, "Oh, Dr. Paik, that's not a conspiracy theory, that's a fact." So I thought it very interesting. In his eyes, that was perceived that way. So he was very much critical of the U.S. policy in Korea. Now, North Korea's strategy of survival and development for 20th century. This might be also what I'm trying to deliver to in my presentation. And for some of you, probably so the majority of you, this might be quite new to you, but let's see what is North Korea's strategy of survival and development for 20th century like. It is designed to bring the U.S. into North Korea's strategic design calculus as a counterweight to China in the absence of the Soviet Union. North Korea's balancing strategy for China and the U.S. To secure diplomatic autonomy and the room for negotiating and achieving the resolution of the Korean Peninsula problems with the U.S. You might have heard that North Korea was very big. North Korea was geographically, geostrategically, geopolitically located in the Korean Peninsula, where the interests of China and the Soviet Union intersect. And they had to deal with the sea power, Japan, South Korea, and the United States, and they were land power, but between them there were competition between China and the Soviet Union, and North Korea strategically, always able and sensitive international constellational power and the working of international powers interactions, they apply that balancing strategy. Now the Soviet Union is gone, and not after Soviet Union demise of the Soviet Union, but before Soviet Union demise, Soviet demise, they prepared for the vacuum in the international politics, where the Soviet Union does not exist, no longer any longer. So they prepared this strategy. So they wanted to bring the United States in. Okay. Yeah, this is what North Korea thought of. This is the North Korea's strategic design at the highest level. At the level of the concrete policy negotiation, they wanted to achieve the goal, peaceful coexistence with the U.S. and economic development. During the Korean War with the U.S., they established a peace regime with the U.S. They normalized relationship with the U.S. and promoted economic cooperation with the U.S. ABCD. All these, repeated. Whenever there is negotiation with the United States, and North Korea's plan for engaging the U.S. Was a give and take offer. What was to take? The end of the Korean War, sign of peace treaty, normalized relations, receive economic cooperation, ABCD I mentioned, and to give in return, cease developing nuclear weapons and informally tolerate continued stationing of U.S. forces in the South. This, taking the deal by North Korea meant that if the United States entered Korean War and give as a security guarantee by having peaceful coexistence policy, and then we'll give out nuclear weapons, and we will allow, not publicly, informally, allow U.S. continued stationing forces, U.S. forces in the South. You might think that the second point, second item, informal toleration of continued station U.S. forces in Korea. You might sometimes hear that there are, some voices in Washington, D.C. Talking about withdrawal of U.S. forces from Korea. And sometimes U.S. government officials use that expression, withdraw U.S. forces from South Korea, if and only if South Korea wants that. But that kind of announcement and reference with conditions or without conditions does not really seem to reflect the U.S. policy positions in their strategic position. China's there, Russia's there. U.S. have to be doing big power relations, diplomacy. So having U.S. pushing the South, removing them, withdrawing them, it's not possible within their strategic calculation. So this is also quite a big thing for the Americans. And North Korea, there were 6 rounds of attempting to carry out the strategy of survival and development for the 21st century by North Koreans. What's the use of establishing a so-called strategy of survival and development for the 21st century if it is not carried out? They wanted to seriously working to carry it out. And so 1991, this is, for instance, Soviet, demised in December 1991, the last month of that year. The very next month, in January 1992, Kim Il-sung, dispatched his right-hand man in international relations to New York and had a secret meeting with number 3 man actually, Arnold Kemper in New York. And North Korea offered the two things I mentioned. Okay, would develop nuclear weapons, would informally tolerate U.S. forces in the South. What happened in the meeting? Americans did not respond positively. Why? They thought that North Korea will collapse eventually because they saw the Soviet Union collapsed and East European countries collapsing and all of them. So North Korea will collapse eventually. So what's the use of engaging North Korea and conducting negotiations with a country who does not exist soon? That was a big mistake. North Korea is located in the Korean Peninsula. If North Korea had been located in Eastern Europe, and then it would have been gone, just like other countries over there. But Korean Peninsula is a very, geopolitically, geostrategically, a very special, place. As I said, the interests of the powers intersect. And so that is one of the reasons why there could not be, a one dominant power of Korea. If we look for a most desirable situation, when of course that did not happen in many times in history, but North Koreans and South Koreans as well are trying to look for such situation where we can see more balanced kind of interest from the powers so-called surrounding the Korean Peninsula, interjecting their interests. And 1993, and there was the 2000, 2005, 2013, and 2018, 2019. That was the Kim Jong-un's negotiation with Donald Trump. I have to say that is the 6th round of North Korea's attempt to implement the strategy of survival development. All these, might be quite new to you, but yes, That was it. And then the implications of North Korea's strategy for us. Can North Korea afford to abandon its efforts to resume dialogue and negotiation and improve relations with the U.S., given its powerful neighbor China and its need to resolve the war and peace issue for survival and development for the 21st century? And now another question. How can we understand North Korea's recent strengthening of ties with China and Russia? You might easily understand that because of the failure in Hanoi in dealing with the United States, there was a huge betrayal, sense of betrayal on the part of Kim Jong-un. Because as I explained to you, Donald Trump was not serious about negotiating with the North Korean army. They decided to walk away, as a dominant scenario when they went there. And so Kim Jong-un was very much disillusioned with the U.S. President, U.S. establishments, and so it was quite natural for them to strengthen ties with China and North Korea. But will North Korea, take the same stance, all the way through the decades to come? No, I don't think so. Geography does not change, and we have China, a very powerful neighbor, and so as long as China exists there, the most threatening, foreign power to North Korea. Even though they are trying to improve relations with China as a counterweight to the United States the circumstances. So, in other words, we have much room still remaining. If things change, if we have a power and presidents like who want to do more negotiation with North Korea in South Korea, in Washington D.C., and then there will be other opportunities. I think because of China, North Korea cannot give up. The United States. That's the way it is. And distinctive characters of U.S. North Korean negotiation. This is also a very important part of my presentation. First of all, asymmetric negotiation targets and objectives to remove North Korea's nuclear missile threats on not the United States. All negotiations, that took place in Geneva in 2000, in 1994 and 2005, and all the agreements basically they wanted to remove North Korea's, nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities, not United States nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities. There's a very asymmetrical, problem there. So naturally, asymmetrical negotiating psychology on the part of North Korea. North Korea becomes automatically very defensive. So what do I mean by this, being defensive by North Korea? It will not, be in a situation where North Korea, will be disarmed by the United States. In other words, it will not be, trapped by the skin, which could be characterized by the U.S. publicly as a true genuine negotiation, where in fact, the United States wanted to undermine U.S. and North Korea system, not reciprocating enough. so that North Korea could be more secure in negotiation. So what they have been demanding was a step-by-step negotiation, and with the reciprocity, so-called corresponding measures from the U.S. to North Korea's, North Korea's measures that they're taking. So at each step, so that is a defensive mechanism in whatever they do in the negotiation with the United States. A parallel approach, as I mentioned, step-by-step reciprocal action with each state. Otherwise, North Korea would be afraid that there would be, caught in the trap of the United States. Once they are trapped, and they are afraid that they will not any means to get out of it, considering the asymmetrical power between the two countries. And the trustworthiness of negotiating leaders, that we sometimes ask, is Kim Jong-un trustable? Is Donald Trump trustable? Or, for that matter, Joe Biden is trustable more than Kim Jong-un? We are asking those questions, but if you pay attention to all the important points I talked with you in my presentations, then you might wonder, what do you mean by trustworthiness in negotiation? So any negotiation between the United States and North Korea is highly path-dependent. Negotiation dependent. So if both parties come forward with genuine ideas and genuine resolve to peacefully coexist, thereby resolving all the problems, then it will be a very successful negotiation. But otherwise, the negotiation will not go anywhere. And then we can criticize two of them or one of them more heavily than others. So that's what's happened. This North Korean summit and aftermath, Singapore and Hanoi, as I briefly described, North Korea's distrust of the U.S. increased dramatically after Donald Trump's betrayal in Hanoi. I was in Hanoi, invited by press corps, so that I can give them some explanations about the agreements or what was happening in the process of negotiation, because foreign reporters and the Korean reporters are not North Korea experts. So I was in Hanoi. I did not know that Donald Trump decided to walk away in advance as a scenario, as a dominant scenario. So we were all disappointed at the time in Hanoi. Basically, having decided to have a summit between countries means, in our eyes, that both leaders have some prior consent to the important questions they have to deal with in advance. But we did not know about all such betrayal. And so we are in a period of disillusionment among the players involved. South Korea worked very hard in persuading the North to give up Yongbyon nuclear facility. Some of you have heard about Yongbyon nuclear complex. Just to give it up in totality, so that the United States could respond with positive measures in the direction of offering measures regarding peace regime and the normalization of the relationship and for economic cooperation with North Korea. North Korea's keen interest in resolving the Korean relation, North Korea's policy. And, I listed, ABCD in the conflict coalition dealing with the United States in the negotiation. And more than anything else, North Korea wants to end the Korean War and sign a peace treaty in the first place. Otherwise, they will be continue to be in an enemy state, relationship with America, which is a real serious, impediment and hurdle to overcome in their effort to, carry out their strategy of survival and development for the 21st century. So they always wanted to talk when they sought direct talks with Washington, D.C., if possible. But most of the times, United States just ignored, North Korea. Why care about North Korea? It has to be gone. So, except when North Korea, provoke to the extent, that Americans had to pay attention to, they mostly ignore North Korea, what they are trying to achieve, what their goals, what their preferences, what their policies are for the United States. And but North Korea's side, war and peace issue is absolutely top priority. And if they don't have an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. directly, they sought, the way to go to Washington, D.C. through Seoul, indirect talks with the Washington, D.C. via Seoul. So there has been, alternation of these two approaches depending on the situation. So people are a little confused. What is really, North Korea's approach? But we can easily, agree that if you were in North Korea's place, they applied these two approaches on and off, or at the same simultaneously. South Korea has not yet regained wartime operational control of its own army forces military forces from the United States. And maybe some of you, maybe most of you may not know about this. During the Korean War, South Korean government, conceded its wartime operational control to United Nations forces. Interesting enough, North Korea did the same thing to the Chinese army in order to have a more, effective, well-organized, coordinated, military operation. And in the case of North Korea, Kim Il-sung demanded, China to withdraw its forces in 1950s, and North Korea and China had to do that. Originally, China wanted to keep its forces on the northern part of Korea, until when the United States withdrew its forces from Korea. You understand, right? So it's a big power relations. But Kim Il-sung, after seeing what happened in Hungary, there was a pro-nationalist leader, put in power, and he distanced himself from the Soviet Union in 1956, and there was a Soviet invasion, and just remove the pro-nationalist regime in Hungary. And so Kim Il-sung was very much concerned about China's forces stationed in the north. China did not withdraw its forces from Korea, from northern part of Korea. Even the Korean War ended, not ended, but the armistice. And so Kim Il-sung did not have confidence and did not believe, China or anybody. Kim Son was, and for that matter, his son, his grandson Kim Jong-un now, has always, does not have any real trust in the neighboring countries, powers. That's why North Koreans are strategically trying to be more, more incorporating the benefits from balancing strategy and from history of their policies and strategies in the Cold War era. So Kim Il-sung demanded China to withdraw its forces, and so China had to do that. But so in the South Korean case, we still do not have the return of the wartime operation control. This is a serious problem. As I said, North Korea is interested in war and peace issue, and the Korean War signing a peace treaty with the United States. But they do not, North Korean leadership does not regard South Korea as a partner, as a party to be included in the negotiation regarding war and peace issue. Because China Korea does not have its independent wartime operation control of some United States exercises, wartime operation control of the South Korean Army. So I have been, as an academic, I have been repeatedly pointing out this problem to the government of South Korean society. In Singapore, in Hanoi, for instance, South Korean government was not involved. We wanted to get involved because the negotiation that happened in Singapore and Hanoi was could produce the result, which directly affecting our life and death of South Koreans, security-wise, politics-wise, and economy-wise as well, international relations-wise. But we were sidelined because of this structural problem. So the danger of South Korea's marginalization in U.S. North Korea talks, negotiating destiny of the Korean Peninsula. Inter-Korean relations have also stalled since the failure in Hanoi, as I mentioned. North Korea needs South Korea's help, but North Korea needs South Korea's help in implementing its strategy. South Korea is the only country which are ready to help. Our brothers, sisters over there. And so if international politics goes through ups and downs, I think definitely there will be resumption of talks between two Koreas, and also as I said, negotiation between the United States and North Korea as well. But we have a feeling that the ever intensifying rivalry between United States and China, the opportunities for the two Koreas to pursue more independent power, policy, particularly from the South, and the effort to bring more chances of unifying the two Koreas would be slimmer and slimmer. So, but the most important lesson we are having from German experience of unification is that once both Koreas decide, and then both are confident in their agreement and continuing to carry it out, and we can overcome all those international negative influences and threats or pressures coming from overseas. That's the history. And President Kim Dae-jung exactly did that during his presidency in 1998 to 2003. Sunshine policy was called. Uh, Problems in infrastructure. I'm sorry that I am spending too much time. I'll be quick and brief, just to go into this. One of the serious problems and prospect problems is that power struggle between status quo and the revisionist forces within and among the countries at the global stage and Korean Peninsula levels. Power struggle within the United States, South Korea, are largely responsible for the complex, inconsistent, time-consuming process of nuclear ballistic missiles and peace regime negotiation. And key questions regarding U.S. North Korea negotiation are denuclearization of North Korea and the dismantling of North Korea's ballistic missile capability, top priorities of the United States, really seriously so. With North Korea denuclearizing itself without receiving an end-of-war declaration, peace regime, normalization of relations and economic cooperation from the U.S. U.S. North Korean negotiation, I didn't take a deal, as I explained, and as you are familiar with already. All U.S. North Korean negotiation disagreements to resolve the Korean Peninsula problems are characterized by that. The demands of both sides are essentially practically two faces of the same question because of the linkage of the demands from both sides. If you do not provide this, and the other side will not reciprocate. Parallel approach, step by step, reciprocity at each step. And so we are asking the question, will North Korea really give up its nuclear weapons programs repeatedly, but we're not asking the question to the United States. Will the United States really end the Korean War, establish a peace regime on the Korean Peninsula and normalize its relations with North Korea and promote economic cooperation with North Korea? The same question in practicality, in reality, but we are asking only questions about North Korea, not about the United States. That's the world we are living in. You might be wondering whether I'm, presenting all of this, specifically in India only. No, I'm saying the exact same thing in Washington D.C., Korea, and Japan, everywhere. We are academics. We are fighting. We are living history, not in a sensational moment history. We are living a long history. With trying to understand and not losing the accumulated wisdom of humans across time and space. That's what we are looking for, and bring the wisdom that apply to the world we are living in to find better solutions and present a better way to go. That's what we are doing as Sejong Institute and also at the Center for Public Policy Research. And therefore, the most critical question is, will the U.S. decide to peacefully coexist with the North? There was one time during George W. Bush era, in my presentation, I said, oh my gosh, what they're trying to do is not a policy that will lead to denuclearization of North Korea, which you was strongly wanted to see. One of the ways is to change your government here in Washington, D.C. to a government which will be more prone to negotiation with North Korea to solve the threat coming from the North to Washington, D.C., nuclear and ballistic missiles. And so we really wanted to see Joe Biden to continue so democratic government tradition that there was they wanted to negotiation with the U.S. That was the pattern we had in the past. But this government is not just like traditional democratic government. This they do not want to do any dialogue with the North. And so Koreans are asking, if Donald Trump comes back, like it or not, what will happen to his North Korean policy? So Koreans don't like to see Donald Trump, coming back to power because he wasted so much, wisdom of humans, in the areas of politics and diplomacy. As long as Korean Peninsula policy is concerned, he was the first U.S. president who held some talks with the North and agreed on the Singapore Agreement, which he liked himself, but his establishment, his entourage did not like it, so they reversed it. So there is a possibility, and we asked American experts in Washington D.C. For that matter, regarding that question, that issue, and so many of them agree that there is a possibility, I'm not saying probability or likelihood, that Donald Trump will resume dialogue with the North. Both characters, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump, like each other. They exchanged as many as 27 letters, private letters to each other. Now we all know the letters in text, and they like them. Donald Trump likes, authoritarian kind of character of leadership, Putin, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un. So, what can we do for the future prospect? What can we do? Again, this is a quite abstract thing, which can apply not only to the Korean situation, but also to our own individual life, in which we have to make, everyday decisions, sometimes big decisions. By bringing the future to the present, we can reshape the present to reality. That embodies our vision and the goals of the future. We should bring, peace vision, reconciliation vision, two-states vision in the case of Israel, Hamas, Palestine, war. To the present, then reshape it, restructure it, reconstitute it into a reality. Make the present breathe in the future, confident in our ability to achieve our future vision and goals. President Kim Dae-jung said just before he passed away, months before, 3-4 months before his death, he talked to me, this is my sort of testimony, his testimony between Dr. Paik. Live in history with confidence in its forward trajectory, but it is better to have a long-term perspective. I quite often think of this real testimony to me and the very unstable situation we are in, not only in the Korean Peninsula, but also in other parts of the world. I don't know if I spent too much time, but this is it. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, sir, for your insights on various factors that shape the geopolitics of the Korean Peninsula. Now we are open to take questions from the audience. Please raise your hands if you have questions.
Thank you very much for your highly articulated and enlightening speech presentation covering all the aspects of the Korean Peninsula, vis-à-vis U.S. strategy or the U.S. policy. So my first question relating to you is that from the last quotation which you have highlighted at the end of the talk, what is your perspective or your vision? Whether just like the Berlin Wall collapsed, whether the demilitarized SALT at 39th parallel between the North and South Korea will collapse and the united Korea will come into existence. That is question number one.
I'm sorry, Would you go over it again, please, so that I can?
Yes, again, I can put the question because the question is that US policy is there, because they have their own international or strategic interests. So just like the Soviet Union had a policy in the East European countries, when Soviet Union was in existence, they have control over almost all the East European countries. Despite that control, the Berlin Wall has collapsed. East and West Germany united together and a single Germany was formed. Just like that one, despite the US foreign policy or geopolitical compulsions of US administration starting from 1990 to this period, Professor, do you think that the two North and South Korea will unite together and the demilitarized zone, because a zone which is, some 240 kilometer length with a 4 kilometer breadth, there is a 39th parallel. That will collapse and a unified Korea will come into existence or not?
As I mentioned, there is a force working on the Korean Peninsula that trying to divide the two Koreas more and more under circumstances, by which I mean, intensifying US-China rivalry. They try to pull South Korea more closer to US position, US side, and China and Russia, China in particular, try to pull North Korea closer to the Chinese side. And so, and also very unfortunately, this government, for instance, in the South, are not very much, confident about, more, reconciliation with the North, and more hopeful unification between the two Koreas. So currently, it's not. We are not living in a favorable situation as long as unification is concerned. But we are Koreans. We are a divided nation, and sometimes, if you see the statistics, young Koreans does not have much interest in unification itself, in the public poll, questions and answers to that. And but we can say that once the government policy tries to galvanize the feeling of we are one nation, we have been divided very temporarily, very briefly, considering our 5,000 years history, one identical nation. And so government policy matters. If government tries to pursue more reconciliation, more unification policy in a peaceful way, I think that will have a serious impact on the statistics of the public polls. And it's just like yes, anti-Americanism feeling among the Koreans. If the United States applies a policy, helping promote inter-Korean relations, giving Koreans more hope for peace and reconciliation and unification, then the level of anti-Americanism goes down very dramatically. But if Americans, comes up anti-North Korea policy, going a Cold War on the prospects for inter-Korean relations and hope for unification, and then the anti-Americanism goes dramatically off. I'm giving the two examples, comparing what happened anti-Americanism among South Koreans during Bill Clinton era and the George W. Bush era. So again, the same thing applies to South policy and North Korea's policy in the North. And once we are given a better opportunities, better circumstances in which we can plan, we can speed up the process unification as a process, and then people will be more paying, even young people will pay much seriously to unification issues.
We have an online question from one Mr. Jamal Nasir Histani. He's a research scholar at the University of Kerala. So his question is, how do you see the prospect of the future of North Korea, considering the current regime facing a lot of challenges with the sanctions that is imposed on them, and generally being in the state of isolation?
No, North Korea is, as you said, isolated. Which helps North Koreans to continue their current form of leadership and regime. Once North Koreans are given more opportunities to interact with international society, I think there will be inevitably more change in North Korean leadership and system. So what is important is for the United States to interact with North Korea, so that North Korea feel less concerns about this security and the less threat coming from the outside world, because North Korea and US are two key players in deciding the Korean affairs, of course, together with the South, that's the situation. As long as the confrontation continues between the United States and North Korea, for various reasons, for structural reasons, for strategic reasons, or whatever, and also between the South Korea and North Korea, and then North Korean leadership will be much better position to continue this type of leadership and the system. And there is no organized opposition in North Korean society. One interesting aspect to the approval of continuation of the three-generational power succession within Kim Jong-un, Kim family has to do with the power elite in North Korea just supports that power succession within Kim family, because they are given opportunities, sort of guarantees to have power succession, generational power succession within their own family. Because the top elite that North Koreans, their ancestors were the comrades, so-called, of Kim Il-sung, who fought the anti-Japanese guerrilla war in 1930s, 40s. So the anti-Japanese guerrilla war fighters are, the basically top elite, and their offspring constitute top elite of North Korean society. And so that mechanism continues. So what my answer to you?
Because you have highlighted this conspiracy theory, then also highlighted the need of trustworthiness during negotiations. Mm-hmm. 2 points which you have elaborated in the context of your presentation. But if you analyze the approach of North Korea, even at the time of negotiations, they were pursuing a secret agenda. Secret agenda, clandestine agenda, North Korea. For example, in 2007, negotiation 5-7 period, when negotiations were in progress, North Korea sent the chairman of their atomic research establishment into Syria and had a consultation with the Syrian Assad, President Assad, in order to have established a nuclear reactor there. So on one side, the negotiations were going on, but at the same time, secret moves were made by North Korea. So can we blame US administration in adopting a very cautious approach during negotiations with North Korea?
One interesting thing I'm reminded of at the moment, is that President Clinton, Bill Clinton, was having a press conference just before his retirement. I think it was one of the last press conference he held. One of the reporters asked, has North Korea abided by the agreement they made with the United States? He meant a legal framework that was reached in Geneva during the first nuclear crisis in 1993-1994. And Clinton said, North Korea has not broken any promises. This is what he said. North Korea has abided by the agreement. That was his answer. So there will be lots of room for North Korea's trying to manipulate in dealing with the United States and all the important issues we're facing us. But structurally, North Korea, without having a prospects for the future, denuclearization, which they may not like, but it's a give and take deal, and North Korea knows, in my opinion, eventually knows, not at the moment during this confrontation era, but eventually we know that they have to give up nuclear weapons in exchange for other items they have to receive. And so we have to see from a little longer period of time, North Koreans might be doing something quite nasty to us, but other times they might be more rational in the circumstance where they are given a chance to reciprocate more positively. I don't know exactly what's happening in the areas of export nuclear technology. There has been cases of import and export, between Pakistan and North Korea. But I would say that North Korean, WMD related to materials and technology are heavily under sanction regime. And North Korea, I don't see that there is a significant extent which North Korea could have opportunity to export these technologies in those areas. If that happens, of course, there are reports. I know that there is some cooperative works between North Korea and other countries in the Middle East, for instance. Syria, as you said, but I really personally do not know exactly the extent to which that is happening, because I know there is a watertight, control, sanction control regime on North Korea's, trading with nuclear and other missile-related technologies and materials.
Sir, my question is, US is South Korea's ally and China is a strategic partner for South Korea. So with growing US-China rivalry, actually South Korea is torn between both the sides, and Washington is on one side pressing them to join them to counter China, whereas China is asking them to maintain neutrality. So how do you think they will tackle this dilemma in the future?
What the last word?
Dilemma in the future, maintaining the neutrality between China and US.
Yeah, China just, South Korea.
South Korea.
We South Koreans know that South Korean geography, geopolitics, geostrategy tells us that we cannot distance ourselves from China and Russia and Japan from the United States. Of course, the United States is our ally, so the most important nation, no doubt about that. But we should not distance ourselves from other, powers in the East, in the surrounding Korean Peninsula. That's basic answer to the question. And so, in order to keep that stance, solid stance, even though the United States wants to have more pressure on the South Korean government to reduce some economic interactions with China and others, we try to overcome as much as possible by pursuing the United States, but it's not easy. For instance, U.S. most recent measures like Inflation Reduction Act and the Chips and Science Act, basically, prevents South Korea from import ingredients of raw materials from China, ingredients of the factories, and also could not South Korea, it prevents South Korea from investing in high-tech semiconductors, for instance, to China. South Korea has huge investment in China, but we cannot, transfer our own, Korea company in China, the high-tech technology. So there is a real serious problem, and so South Korea has to have more diversified, investment and markets. So Southeast Asia, India, definitely are becoming more and more important for South Korean investment and economic cooperation. Until when will the United States maintain this very strict, law-binding kind of measures on China, on South Korea and Japan and other countries in dealing with China? I think the next president, whoever will be in power in Washington D.C., has a very high likelihood to continue this policy, so-called the interest of the United States. But United States is not supposed to continue this policy to the South, having a very strict, restriction, as long as South Korea is an ally. What's the use of being an ally if you continue to put, your lifeline, economic lifeline? Of course, Korea, China economic cooperation is not the 100% South Korea's economic lifeline, but it is an important part of our economic life and future. And so the next government in the United States might be having a little, less, straightforward and less, powerful restriction on Korea, allowing South Korea more room, and then South Korea will try to overcome the difficulties we are having. But as you know well, Donald Trump's trade war, basically technology war with China, basically helped China to advance and more self-sufficient in the technology area, IT and AI, all of that. So I think if the United States continues to have some restrictions and South Korean policy, and then South Korea will inevitably seek much a much long-term, strategy to deal with the situation, get out of the economic difficulty.
I'm really appreciative of your academic courage and intellectual integrity, because you are so objective in your analysis. So even some of us seems to be obsessed with certain impressions given by somebody, and we make some nations as demons. They are evils, they are bad, they are crooks, they are warmongers, and some are good, they are defenders of faith, blah, 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 all these things. From what I understood from you, I think USA is a hindrance to peace and unification of Koreas. So, just like when the Soviet Union disintegrated and they lost the grip over these European nations, the Berlin Wall crumbled. Like that, if the USA, if it is possible, if they can loosen or remove the grip over the South Korean defense system, can we expect a direct negotiation between the two Koreas? Because I feel very funny. The Korean peace has to be determined by somebody else. Even if it is between India and China, I don't personally, I should say no. It should be between India and China. So you have some international policeman or somebody like it. Secondly, when I was also very much concerned with what you said in the beginning of your talk. Very unfortunately, today we do not have a global cooperative system. To negotiate, to mediate. That is why you see the wars goes on. Dispute arise. Nobody is there to mediate. During the Korean crisis, I think India, we had the moral leadership. We interfered.
Sure. Yeah.
And we helped. And even in Congo, there are so many stories about it. And okay, I don't talk about the present India.
So I'm afraid I have given you some wrong idea, wrong impression that when U.S. North Korea policy gives gives a more likelihood, more probable likelihood that South Korea, could not pursue so independent, policy toward the north. Basically, Korean matters are decided by Koreans in principle, but big powers have a say in Korean affairs for their own respective interests. What I said was that under current, circumstances, because of the very close cooperation between U.S. government and South Korean using their government. There is a sense that South Korean government may not voluntarily pursue its independent North Korea policy, always emphasizing the importance of cooperation with the United States on all these Korean matters. And but other times in the future, those Koreans are inevitably will exercise its own initiative, independent initiative more, because the continuation of the current policy, cannot be accepted by South Korean people for long. We all have memory and history that the Sunshine Policy, and we have such vision and future visions and goals in our minds. All excited about it, and so this is again. We have all kinds of frustrations among the such pro-reconciliation, pro-peace forces, but the current situation is not like that. That's what I said, and as you said, during the Korean War and negotiating for the end of the Korean War, very important role. And I hope, India and also European countries might have, better, opportunities to have a say and to take initiative to help Koreans to resolve the situation. Not necessarily in cooperation with the United States at times, but other times in cooperation with the United States, under different circumstances we are in. And so at the moment, Korean Peninsula is under the heavy influence of U.S.-China rivalry, and so we see a lot of problems there. That's what I'm saying.
Anyone else wants to take a final question?
I'm not asking any defense security related question. What I've read about South Korea last few years is South Korea is an aging society. The fertility rate is very low. At the same time, we have these Samsungs and LGs and whatnot, all the Hyundais and all are ruling the global economy. So how this change is going to influence South Korean leadership's long-term perspective?
South Korea's birth rate is 0.67, 76, the lowest in the world. That's a catastrophe. We are starting. And do you know the so-called the replacement rate? Each woman having 2.1 babies. But again, this tendency, this trend of very low birth rate will continue in the near future, but to the point where people will be reawakened about this catastrophe. So there is a conversation between me and my colleagues during presidential election. If we have a candidate who has a revolutionary policy and promise to improve this low birth rate problem, and then we'll just vote for him, regardless of his parties or other policy promises. But that did not happen in reality. So aging population is a real serious problem. We are aware of that, but there's no cure for them in the circumstances because governments, government officials and policies does not introduce revolutionary idea. But we all know that Japan has reversed this, birth rate from, upward. This over 1.0 already, and we know that other cases in France, for a long time ago, and so I think Koreans will try to find a solution to that, particularly by having revolutionary, idea by presidential candidate during the coming up presidential election. I'm serious about that.
Thank you, Dr. Paik, for that really insightful discussion that gave a detailed analysis of the current state of international politics in East Asia and the prospects of denuclearizing the region and what the shifting role of US and other players in the region and its implication. So I'm sharing my gratitude for this insightful talk, and we all had a really wonderful time listening to you. I'm also sharing my gratitude for the Korea Center at the School of International Relations and Politics, Mahatma Gandhi University, for associating with us in this event. And we look forward to continuing such collaborations in the future. And also special thanks to Dr. Georgian for his continued support in organizing this event. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to all other CPPR advisors and fellows present here. Sir K.C. Abraham, Sir Vice Admiral Muralidharan, Sir K.V. Thomas, Sir Professor K.C. Abraham, Anthony Dawson, Sir. So also among us, we also honored to have the presence of Dr. Jayden Kang, who is a macroeconomics faculty member at the Ratchagiri Center for Business Studies, and he was here for the talk. He just stepped out. And so once again, heartfelt thanks to all our audience, both online and offline, for your patience, for your active listening and your questions. So with this, we would like to close today's event. Wishing you all a good evening. Sir, we have a small token of appreciation, and I'll invite K. Thomas sir to give the